What's up, guys? I wanted to do a quick little demonstration video here showing the new SVS integration for the RetroTink 4K. You may have seen Mike announced yesterday that the RetroTink 4K firmware 1.6.9 is available now, and that is gone. It's now out of the experimental firmware phase, and it's actually the official firmware now. And that firmware fully integrates the SVS serial integration. So now the SVS switch can control the RetroTink 4K automatically. And I want to demonstrate how that works. So first of all, we're going to show what you need to do to set up the RetroTink 4K to get it ready. So you need to be on firmware version 1.6.9. And for the RetroTink 4K integration to work, you need to go to Profiles, and you'll see this new option, Auto Load SVS. You'll need to turn that option on. Once you've turned that option on, then the RetroTink 4K will now be listening on its serial port for commands from the SVS, and it can use those commands to automatically perform functions. So the other thing you'll need to do, which I can't show you this right now, but you'll need to take your SD card out of your RetroTink 4K and plug it into your computer, and you'll need to move the profiles that you want to use for each input over into a new folder labeled SVS inside of the profile folder on the RetroTink 4K SD card. And then each one of those profiles you're going to need to append to the front of the name of the profile. You'll need to put in S and then the number of the input and then an underscore. So, for example, input number one's profile would be S1 underscore and then whatever the name of the profile is, Super Nintendo, DAR, whatever the name is. Same thing for profile for input number 2, it would be S2 underscore, S3 underscore for profile 3, and so on and so forth. Once you've done all of that, and all of your profiles are set up the way you want them, then you put your SD card back in the RetroTink 4K, and that allows the system to work automatically. Let's hop over to the other input that I have set up here. So I've got my game consoles over there. I've got you looking at the RetroTink 4K through the capture card. We're going to go ahead and turn on some game consoles, and if you watch up in the top right corner, you can see the RetroTink 4K switching profiles automatically as we turn on these consoles. So we'll start with the Super Nintendo. So it loaded the Super Nintendo profile, and it also ran autophase because I have the autophase remote code programmed into the SVS for this input as well. So it'll automatically run that phase and switch to the correct profile without you having to do anything as soon as you turn on the console. Next, we can look at a different console. Let's say the Genesis. I got a JVC headset. So this loads the Mega Drive profile. Automatically, and I have it set up to do autophase, so it's going to do that automatically. All right, and that's a couple of different RGB consoles, but let's try a component console. So we're going to turn on the PS2. So as you can see, the RetroTink 4K switched to the component PS2 profile that I have set up, so we can automatically load between component and RGB sources. Fire up the PS1. So now we're back to an RGB profile again. So we've done RGBS, we've done component. Let's do RGBHV. I've got a VGA. I've got a Dreamcast down there hooked up by VGA. And you can see it's in the RGBHV input. We can fire up a game. And then if we want to switch back to one of our RGB input consoles, let's say we fire up the Sega Saturn. So now we're back to the Saturn profile, we're back to RGBS, and it just loads up automatically. And we've got an N64 over here with running a 480i expansion pack game. So if we turn that on, you can see we've got 480i running on the N64 profile, automatic. So I've got a lot of consoles turned on right now. Let's start turning some of them off. So we'll turn the N64 on. And it's going to auto switch back to the PS2 because that's in input slot number 1. We'll turn the PS2 off. And that puts us back on the Dreamcast because it's in input slot number 2. And that brings us back to input number 3, which is the PS1. Turn that off. Now we're back on the Super Nintendo. Turn that off. Now we're back on the Genesis. Turn that off. And back to Sega Saturn. So that's pretty much it. The SVS integration with the RetroTink 4K completely automates your game setup. All you got to do once you get it all set up and configured the way that you want is just turn on the game console you want to play, and everything gets taken care of for you. You no longer have to manually switch profiles or fiddle with anything. You just turn your game system on and you're done. It doesn't get easier than that.